We all have dreams and aspirations, somewhere we want to go, something we want to do, or some version of ourselves that we want to be. But what happened if said dream it wasn't even yours to begin with? Good evening everyone and welcome back to Nerd Pain Rant, a series in which I try to make a creative living out of my 2 degrees in criminology. Today we are going to talk about a show in which the whole storytelling revolves around the core principle of following your own dream. Remaining member of the glorious Big Three, today we're talking, of course, about Naruto. From an emotional perspective, Naruto will always be my favorite manga. It was the first manga I started to buy that ignited my passion toward the idea of collecting. And I still remember to this day the volume that opened the door for me to this fantastic medium was volume 17. Volume 17 opens with a banger of a panel, Itachi towering over Naruto with his imposing and menacing Sharingan. To this day, I can still quote by heart the entirety of the interaction, specifically the confrontation between Sasuke and Itachi in the hallway. After that volume, my hyperfixation started, as we can tell, and I would lie if I tell you that I didn't cry when Naruto ended. But before we continue, if you have been enjoying this channel, what we have been doing so far and want to support me, don't forget to leave a like, tweet the notification bell and subscribe to the channel. And if there is any specific title that you would like me to analyze, let me know in the comments down below. I really want this to be an open conversation. But what is Naruto about? And I do realize that the only reason why I have to do this section is because I did it for every other single video. Written and illustrated by Masashi Kishimoto from 1999, Naruto, shockingly, follows the story of Uzumaki Naruto, a young ninja from the village of Konoha that dreams of becoming the Kage, leader of the village and strongest shinobi of all. Cursed by an evil spirit sealed within him, Naruto spends his childhood being isolated and ostracized by everybody around him, facing rejection and prejudice for the entirety of his own life. But thanks to sheer optimism and hard work, the story follows Naruto overcoming all the odds against him, presenting to us his transformation from a rejected nobody to a role model for the entirety of the world. How do we approach Naruto from a criminological perspective? While the temptation was initially to focus my attention on the main villains, due to the fact that Naruto showed to us some of the most iconic anime villains of all time, in the form of Madara Uchiha, Pain, or my personal favorite, Zabuza. But while rereading Naruto, I noticed that one of the most interesting elements to analyze lies not specifically in the villains themselves, but in understanding the society said villains originated from. Because after 72 volumes and more than 700 episodes, we got kind of used to the fact that 12 years old carry weapons, fight villains and hop around, without really asking ourselves if that's normal. We see them happening everywhere. It's not that big of a deal. But it actually is. If we take a closer look to Naruto without the nostalgia filter, without considering all the flamboyant elements that make Naruto such a great and charismatic manga, the crude reality is that those kids are nothing less than child soldiers. Considering this element, I decided to focus on 2 different approaches to understand Naruto, referring to the concept of state military and child militia, the role of the child soldier by David Rosen, and the second is the role of propaganda by Harold Lesser. David Rosen's theory about the role of child soldier offered to us a perfect paradigm to understand the complex reasons behind the recruitment and the utilization of children into armed conflicts. Rosen argues that the practice of employing children on the battle often represents a calculated decision, instead of being simply the result of desperation or lack of resources. Rosen theorized that the employment of children on the battlefield is the final result of a rational choice, bringing many advantages from a military perspective. For example, in terms of cost and efficiency, a platoon of children is easier to maintain. From a psychological perspective, the presence of children on the battlefield can impact psychologically the enemy, leaving them therefore more open to possible assault. But the most important element, according to Rosen, is the aspect of the malleability. Because children, due to the fact that their brain is not fully developed, they are not completely aware of the historical context and the politics around them, are much easier to manipulate if compared to adults. Thanks to a process of manipulation and glorification of martyrism and heroism, children can be convinced in fighting every battle. Connected to the process of recruiting and manipulation is a theory about the concept and the role of propaganda by Harold Lesser. In particular, Lesser's approach focuses on the systematic misuse and misinformation to influence attitudes, system of beliefs, and the way in which people behave. Lesser argues that propaganda is a specific and systematic tool that is strategically used by government to shape the public opinion and keep justifying the line of conduct. Key aspect of Lesser's approach is its definition of propaganda, intended as the management of collective attitude throughout the manipulation of significant symbol used by the dominant hegemony to maintain the power structure, the social order, and overall the status quo. Fueled by the exploitation of existing frictions within society based on hopes, fears, and groups' identities, the propaganda thrives by exacerbating said tensions, spreading the internal divisions that can range from labeling to scapegoating to patriotism, to create a false sense of unity and identity that will align with the dominant hegemony. How do we apply said theories to the case that is offered to us by Naruto? Throughout the show, we have been introduced to different kinds of societies, with the 5 great shinobi countries standing on the top of the world order. Technically speaking, each of these countries is led by a governmental leader, known as daimyo, in charge of leading the nation following a monarchy-like government. Those 5 nations are major political actors within the world of Naruto, and their authority is based on their strength or the shinobi village, pinnacle or the military power. For example, from the Land of Fire, we have the Hidden Leaf village. These 5 villages are administrated by a single figure of power, appointed as Kage. While technically speaking, each of the Kage represent a political figure that is the equivalent of a mayor of an important city, being the Kage subjected to the daimyo, we can clearly see that in times of needs, the leaders of the village are the one holding the actual power. The prime example is what happened throughout the final arc of Naruto, the War Arc, in which we can see that the daimyo are being escorted far away from the battlefield, leaving the authority and power into the hand of the Kages. This means that, de facto, the one presented in Naruto is a world characterized by a series of institutionalized military government, in which the head of the state is not a man of politics, but is a man of military. These governments find their origin into the common belligerent past. In a war, there was constantly a war, in which nations had to direct resources toward the military institutions. A great example is given by the fact that Kakashi, during the previous war, at the age of 12, was leader of a strike team. During that time, nations need soldier more than anything, and that explains, doesn't justify, but explains why children were employed in the battlefield. But said scenario changed after the conflict resolution. A new world order was established, and a delicate balance was achieved, thanks to the power dynamics that has been created at the end of the conflict. But because of this situation, we can now understand the fact that the existence of the Ninja Academy represents a darker term in terms of politics. While in a time of world conflict, the existence of an academy that would form young soldiers made sense. It's not justified again. It's not justified, just made sense in the world of Naruto. The fact that now such institutions still exist in a time in which peace is achieved allows us to understand that technically there shouldn't be any kind of ninja academy. In a time of peace, there is no need that 12 years old go around carrying weapons, or at least that would be the more political point of view. But we do know that the ones presented in Naruto are de facto military states, and in a military state there will always be the need of potential resources to send on the battlefield. But while during the time of war it was easy not only to justify but to convince children to enroll, in a time of peace, a new question arises. How do you convince children to enroll into a military academy? And the solution was as easy as terrifying. Without any conflict in the horizon, the only way in which the shinobi villages can justify the presence of the ninja academy is throughout the romanticization of the role of the ninja. Taking this element in your mind, we can now find the perfect application for both Rosen and Lesser theory in the very beginning of the show, during Kakashi's bell training. Fresh out of academia, after failing the test, Kakashi is scolding the children, and he specifically asks Naruto if he knows the meaning of a stone near them. He explained to a child that that is a monument that lists the name of people regarded as heroes by the village. Naruto then interrupts joyfully, shouting that one day his name will be there too. Kakashi then continues in his explanation, revealing that those names are the one of ninjas that died on a mission. That mission caused Naruto's smile to fade, and I do think that that interaction perfectly encapsulates the level of propaganda and indoctrination that has been occurring in the Hidden Leaf village, and how it affected two different generations. Because Kakashi is a child of a time of war, he knows the horrors of the conflict, and pragmatically accepts his role as a ninja as nothing more than a weapon for his government. On the other hand, Naruto is a child of a time of relative peace. He never experienced the actual horrors of a conflict, and he spent his early years not fighting for his life, but trying to become a proper ninja, hoping to be one day the Hokage. Naruto never fully understands the implication of his involvement in the academia. He never fully understands the possible consequences of its role as a shinobi. We can even argue that he doesn't fully grasp the extent of this decision up until the Land of the Wave arcs, in which the meeting with Zabuza is able to show Naruto how utilitaristic is the approach of the government toward the shinobi. They are instruments, and as every instrument, they have a purpose, and as every instrument, the moment they are no longer efficient and effective, they will be replaced. And I do think that in this interaction, we can see perfectly the level of propaganda that has been occurring in the shinobi villages. In constant need of soldier, the governmental institution had to rely on the concept of patriotism, making those children believe that enrolling into the academy was their actual dream. Indoctrinated, therefore, in believing they are serving a greater cause for their own good, those children grow up becoming completely lost into this undefined role of the ninja. But here lies the brilliancy of the governmental scheme, because how do you make this kind of propaganda simple yet effective? By using a symbol, something to make an association so iconic and profound. And what symbol is more iconic than the one that those children are wearing so lightly on their headbands? A symbol so shining and bright that those kids are wearing with pride and joy, without not fully understanding that the one they are showing is not a symbol of unity and identity, but it's a military uniform from a government that glorifies loyalty and sacrifice. And now you have it. You know a little bit more about criminology than 10 minutes ago. And the next time you want to impress your peers, you can always go, I've been indulging into the understanding of the military repercussion of the upbringing of kids since I was 12. Instead of admitting you were spending your teenage years trying to make a Rasengan with your friends. But what do you think? Do you think that both Rosen and Lesser theory apply well to the case study of Naruto, or other theories could have been applied? Please let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this episode, what we have been doing so far, and you want to support me and this channel, don't forget to leave a like, to subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Moreover, if you want to hear me ranting and screaming on a semi-daily basis, please don't forget to check the other social media pages: TikTok, Instagram, Rednote, and soon Spotify. Thanks again for joining me today, and up until next time, have a nice rest of the evening.